Hello my crafty friends, this is Monica from Allsewpetite. Welcome to my channel. In this tutorial I will demonstrate how to make the spectacles pouch using my free sewing pattern. I will include the link to the pattern and all supplies I used in this tutorial in the description box below. This pouch is perfect to store sunglasses or your regular glasses. The pouch features magnetic snap closure, so your glasses are securely inside. There is a connector which is optional. I used O-ring in this tutorial, but you can add swivel hook or D-ring if you prefer. There are some darts at the bottom to give this pouch slight shaping, and the inside is fully lined. The lining is securely attached to the bottom seam, so you don't have to worry about pulling the lining together with your glasses. If you want to learn how to make this spectacle pouch, then keep on watching. To make your spectacle pouch, you will need external fabric and lining fabric. For my project, I'm going to mix these three types of cotton fabric today. I would highly recommend fusing some woven interfacing to the back of the fabric first, and then to give just a little bit of cushion and protection to your glasses, I would recommend fusing some fleece as well. You will also need one set of magnetic snap. This is optional, but you can also add 1/2 inch swivel hook to your pouch. However, because I don't have another swivel hook, I'm going to use an O-ring instead. You'll need some scissors, snips, some clips to hold your fabric in place, or pins. A seam ripper is always good to have on hand in case if something goes wrong. And you might want to use a craft knife to cut slits in your fabric when installing magnetic snap. You will also need a hand needle and a thread to close the opening in the lining. And you might want to use a multi-surface glue or a fray check glue. To begin, cut one back from your external fabric and one from your lining fabric. And then one front from external fabric and your lining fabric. And if you are adding a connector, swivel hook or D-ring connector, you will also need to cut one connector from your external fabric. As you can see, I already interfaced my fabric with some woven interfacing and I fused the fleece. I would highly recommend fusing the fleece without the seam allowance, so use the dotted lines on the pattern as a template. Also remember to transfer darts to your front pieces and mark a snap placement on the external front and lining back piece. To start, you're going to take your connector. If you want, you can draw a line in the center. Then you're going to fold the longer edges towards that line. I'm just going to eyeball it. Then you can take this to the pressing station and just press that flat. Next, you're going to take this to the machine and we're going to top stitch about 2 mm on each side. Then you're going to take your O-ring, D-ring or swivel hook, insert the connector through the opening and wrap it around. Here we go, just like that. Then you can just baste that short end. When you have your connector ready, put it aside for later. Then you can install the magnetic snaps to your external front and your lining back. I have a separate video tutorial that will show you exactly how I install my magnetic snaps. Now you're going to take your front pieces and put them right sides together. Line them up on all sides and clip it along the top edge. Then you're going to take this to the machine and we're going to sew the seam using 1 cm seam allowance. Okay, once you've got this ready, you're going to open the panels, open the seam allowance, press it flat. Then bring both pieces wrong sides together and press it flat. Now you're going to take this to the machine and we're going to top stitch along that finished seam. Once you've got this done, you're going to separate those two pieces and we're going to stitch all our darts. So I like to just snip the end of my dart just to make a little notches, so it is easier for me to line them up. To start, pinch the fabric at the tip of your dart, just like that. And then you need to align those two notches that you've made. So those legs of your triangle are aligned. So that's why it's always easier to just make those notches at the end. So you're basically making a little fold in your fabric. And then you're going to take this to the machine and we're going to stitch along that line here. And then repeat the steps to complete all the remaining darts. Okay, once you've got all the darts stitched, you can take this to the pressing station and press each dart towards the center of your panel. You can do that on the external fabric. And then I would recommend pressing it in the opposite direction on your lining fabric. So you would press it towards the sides. So now you're going to place both pieces wrong sides together, just like that. Then you can line up that raw edge. So this way, if your darts are pressed in opposite direction, you don't have so much bulk in one place. So clip that in place. Here we go, just like that. Now you're going to take this to the machine and we're going to base that raw edge using 5mm seam allowance. Once you've got this ready, take your external back piece and with right sides together, we're going to place the front on top. Make sure you have your midpoints matched. And then we're going to line up that raw edge. However, you need to make sure that you line up the finished edge about 1 centimeter below the edge of your back piece. Here we go, just like that. So on both sides, my finished seam is 1 centimeter below the line. I use my grid to measure it, but if you want, you can just make a little notch. Then when you are ready, you're going to take this to the machine and we're going to sew the seam using 1 centimeter seam allowance. Here we go, just like that. Then you're going to take your lining back piece, place it on top. So you're going to squash the front, place it on top, line it up along all sides, and then you can clip that in place. Here we go, just like that. Then you're going to take this to the machine and we're going to sew all around using 1 centimeter seam allowance. However, we need to leave an opening along the bottom edge so we can turn the pouch right side out. As you can see, I left the opening here. Now you're going to take scissors and we're going to trim the seam allowance by half around the finished seam. Then you can turn the pouch right side out. You want to line up that finished seam nicely. You can take this to the pressing station and press it flat if you need to. And then you're going to take this to the machine and we're going to top stitch that finished seam here. So I like to just flip it to the wrong side. So I have my right side of the fabric laying up like this so I can see, and then you're going to top stitch all around that curve. The last thing to do is to close that opening in the lining. So what I like to do is to just push the seam allowance inside so it lays nice and flat. And then the opposite fabric, I like to just fold it by 1 centimeter because that's our seam allowance. Make a nice neat fold. And then you can line up that fold just beyond the visible stitching line. You don't want to see that stitching line. Here we go, just like that. And then using a hand needle and a thread, you can just close that opening. All right, just like that. When you are ready, turn your pouch right side out. You can give it a final press if you have to. Then you can insert your glasses, and that's it. Your project is now completed. Well done. See you next time. Stay crafty, friends.